Back in 76, 1976, not 18, I had a summer job as a deckhand on a lake freighter. It seemed like a good idea at the time. But the situation, had a few snags. Imagine working at your current job and quitting time rolls around. But you can't leave. Well, that's the situation if you work on a freighter. If you're out there in the middle of one of the Great Lakes, how are you going to go home? It made for some long evenings. Long evenings. Unless they woke you up in the middle of the night to help unload the cargo of A, grain, or B, iron ore pellets. Bottom line on a boat, you're either working your ass off or you're bored out of your mind. And the devil makes work for idle hands. Hence pranks, especially if you're new to sailing. I was a particular target as I attended university and was known as the effin' student. I shared a cabin with two other guys, both of them good heads, but all my shipmates delighted in practical jokes at my expense. As a result, I didn't really fall for it when they told me it was my turn to pull spark watch. Somebody has to stand watch under the funnel to make sure no sparks come out and start a fire, eh? They told me. Isn't that the watchman's job? I said. Nah, the watchman ain't got time for that. He's busy, watching, eh? What is he watching? That's the trouble with you effing students. You ask too many questions. Anyway, you got first watch. We'll relieve you at midnight. Now, there is no way a spark from a funnel could start a fire aboard ship. For starters, they don't throw sparks. And if by some odd chance a spark did fall, it would simply go out. The ship was made of steel, not wood. Still, I had no choice but to go along with the gag and hope that my shipmates wouldn't make me wait too long before coming to laugh at me. In order to make the best of it, I stopped at the galley first to grab some snacks. Believe it or not, they had fairly healthy snacks, and so I filled my pockets with cookies and grabbed a couple of apples and went out to pull spark watch. I sat down on the deck, which was still fairly warm from the afternoon sun, and rested my back against the funnel. I hoped I'd have time to eat all my snacks before they came to razz me. Now, I was always pretty tired working on that ship, so it wasn't long before I was sound asleep, only to wake up with a start. It was midnight, and I wasn't alone. A man stood over me. A man stood over me in what appeared to be an old brick-red British Army uniform. He was wearing a tall black bicorn hat, kind of like Napoleon's, but it was his face. His face. It was chalky white and bloodless, with dark burning eyes, but without a jaw. He had no jaw, just a dark gaping maw which drooled saliva as he made an awful mewing sound. I think it was trying to talk to me, but I didn't want to talk to it. I screamed and ran, and I was halfway across the deck when I ran into Tom, the slow-moving and slow-talking ship's watchman. "Steady on, bye," he told me. Tom, we gotta get out of here. There's this thing." "Well, I don't see anything, bye." And in truth, the awful thing seemed to have vanished. I told him what I saw. "Ah, LadyLips," was all he said before escorting me back to my cabin, where I spent a sleepless night. In the morning, and they had us up by 7 a.m., I was half dead and dragging my ass. At breakfast, and all day, I noticed the other guys whispering and staring towards me, until I was finally fed up enough to ask Darwin, one of the guys I shared the cabin with, just what was going on. "They're saying you saw LadyLips," he said, as if I would know what he was talking about. After some expostulating, I finally learned the backstory. LadyLips, despite the unusual name, if that was his real name, if it didn't get garbled by history, it seems LadyLips was actually a British officer during the War of 1812, during a naval action on Lake Erie. Lake Erie, the very lake we were sailing across. LadyLips had the misfortune of being hit in the face by a cannonball which tore his jaw off. He bled to death, which may have been a mercy. Imagine going through life looking like that. It was bad enough he was going through the afterlife looking like that. Ever since then, he's been known to haunt the lakes, Donovan said, usually scaring the crap out of newbies. Like you. Well, scare the crap out of me he did, I said with some emotion. It's just like an effing student to act like that, Donovan said. I don't know why you got so scared. The poor guy's probably lonely. I bet all he wanted to do was jaw with you. The moral of the story? LadyLips scared me, but I still like to jaw about it. I guess you could say my experiences on watch sparked my interest in ghosts. But about LadyLips, I'm no longer interested. If this is your first visit to my channel, please consider subscribing. My name is Warren, and I write and tell original ghost stories and original horror stories featuring such cryptids as the night floaters, werewolves, and the black-eyed children. So again, please consider subscribing. Please help me to reach my goal of 2,500 subs in 2022. As well, I've started a channel covering the events of the War of 1812. There's a link to it in the description. Why not check it out and consider subscribing. Till midnight, cheers! Pictures used in today's video, courtesy of Pix here, that's PX here, while the music was the classic Lightless Dawn by that patron of the internet, Kevin MacLeod.